A Sky Blue Bench by BahramRahman, illustrated by Peggy Collins. Arya walked carefully behind a long line of excited girls. She looked down to admire her new red shoes and tugged at her dress to make sure her helper leg was covered. Arya got a helper leg after she had an accident. She stayed in the hospital for a long time and rested at home. Now she was ready to go back to school. But her school, a mud brick building, had no benches. During the war, all the wooden furniture had been burned to keep the houses warm. Arya was worried about sitting on the floor all day. When Arya arrived at her classroom, the other girls were already seated on the blue tarp that covered the floor. The teacher pointed to the back row where she could lean against the wall. Arya walked slowly, her face burning, as she felt everyone's eyes on her helper leg. It didn't take Arya long to realize that it was not easy to sit down or to get up from the floor. She tried sitting with her legs straight out, resting on her backpack, and standing against the wall, but nothing seemed to work. That night, when Mama tucked her into bed, Arya's eyes welled up. "I don't want to go to school anymore." She couldn't hide the ache she was feeling from sitting on the hard floor all day. "I know it hurts," Mama said, wrapping her arms around Arya, "but I also know that you can get through this, my tough little girl." "I can carry your books," Arya's little brother Babak chimed in. "I'm a big boy now. See, my baby tooth is loose." He wiggled it with his finger, making Arya smile. Arya lay on her bed with her eyes wide open. She thought about how much she would miss school if she never went back. She wouldn't be able to read or write. Something must be done, she said to herself. It was right before dawn when a brave idea came into her mind. "I'll build myself a bench. Surely that will help." Arya told her classmates about her idea. They laughed and said, "Girls don't build benches." "I can do anything a boy can," Arya replied firmly. After school was let out, Arya and her friends paced the city, collecting discarded wooden boards, broken pieces of chairs, and lots of nails and screws. Arya carried her findings in her backpack and stacked them under the cherry tree in the backyard. Blisters appeared on her sun-baked hands. Later that week, Arya and Mama went to see Kaka Najar, the carpenter in the old city, for some help. They treaded the narrow roads, past the blue mosques, and through the vaulted bazaars where groups of children were selling chewing gum and colorful paper pinwheels. Arya offered a loaf of sweetbread to Kaka Najar in return for teaching her how to make a bench. "It's all about figuring out how the pieces fit together like a puzzle," he said. He loaned her some of his work tools, a hammer, a saw, a chisel, different types of screwdrivers, and a brush stiff with dry paint. Handing her a can, he said, "This paint is my gift to you." Sky blue is the color of courage, peace, and, he tapped his temple, wisdom. When the weekend finally came, Arya woke up with the sunrise. She set up her workstation under the cherry tree. Her eyes were alight and her movements were brisk. First, she drew a bench pattern on the wooden boards. Then, with help from Mama and Babak, she sawed the boards into many pieces. Sawdust blew across the backyard, leaving an earthy scene behind. "Like a puzzle," Arya said to Babak, showing him how to hold the pieces steady. She pressed the tip of the nail into the wood and hit it hard with the hammer. Thud, thud, thud. At last, Arya dipped the brush into the sky blue paint and splashed layer after layer onto the wooden bench. "Sky blue is for courage, peace, and wisdom," Arya whispered to herself. On Monday, when Arya's classmates arrived at school, they found a sky blue bench right where Arya always sat. It was not too high and not too low. It had enough space for 2 girls to sit. The girls circled around with their chadors pulled over their mouth. "Wow," they said, "it's beautiful." Standing by the window, Arya watched her classmates' surprised faces. "Will you teach me how to build a bench too?" one of the girls asked Arya. "We need tables," said another, bouncing up and down like a rubber ball, "and a bookshelf too." Arya thought about her can of sky blue paint. There was still plenty left. "Yes," she said with a smile as wide as the sky, "we can build everything we need together."